Hi, I'm Chris, and my story is about the time one of the Wright brothers stabbed Europe.
Hi, I'm Katie, and I'm going to tell you about star-crossed lovers on Titanic that James Cameron didn't write about.
Hi, I'm Matt. Jazz greats dying on stage?
What does all of this have to do with jazz? Find out in this week's episode of History Bluffs. Welcome to another edition of History Bluffs. It's where truth is stranger than fiction. And now I want to welcome to the show, it's your host, it's Alan! There he is.
Hey, it's me! I'm the host.
This guy.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to
Hi,
a very
Alan.
jazzy episode of History Bluffs. If you weren't paying attention at the top of the show,
That's right.
the topic is jazz. There it is. Located for those of you watching our video online, but for those of you listening, pay close attention because I'm going to introduce our historians. First, ladies first, our lovely Ms. Katie. How are you, Katie?
I'm great. How are you, Alan?
Good. I don't want to spoil too much, but do you like jazz, Katie?
Yeah, man, I'm hep to the groove.
Oh, man.
I'm a cool cat.
Cool as 1950s Katie.
You sound like someone who listens to jazz talking about modern day music.
Okay, most of what I know from jazz is from the musical Chicago. Give me a break.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. All right. Well, enough of that. Matt, do you listen to jazz at all? Do you have a preference?
No.
Okay. That's perfectly fair. Be true to yourself, Matt. That's fine.
I'm not against jazz. I don't listen to it a lot though, unfortunately. Sorry, jazz.
All right. No, that's okay. That's okay. You know what? There's different genres of jazz. There's smooth jazz like you would hear in an elevator or a restaurant. There's fusion jazz, which is a lot more avant-garde and like dissident sounding and atonal, and sometimes their timing is different than what you might be used to. Chris,
Alan, I thought you were the host, not a historian.
That's right. I know.
Don't forget, Alan, you can't forget about New Orleans jazz. Hey, that's a form. It's a flavor.
It is.
That's right. It's a flavor.
Yes, got that
And how could
Cajun
we forget
flavor.
Kenny G?
Yes, there's Kenny G. Chris, do you have a preference on jazz?
I do, actually.
Let's hear it.
Like Miles Davis-ish type style. Yeah, kind of free-form, improvising a lot on the moment. Yeah.
Very nice. Very
like
nice. Okay, good to know. Well, for those of you who've never watched History Bluffs or listened to History Bluffs on the various podcast streaming services we're on, let me explain the rules, and Adam's going to give us a visual right now.
Okay, let's do it. Let's bring up the rules, because this is a game show. The rules are right here, Alan, and they're for you to explain for those who cannot see them.
That's right, you listeners. Historians are inspired by the topic, which today is jazz, and the true stories are going to be completely factual. So 2 out of 3 of our historians you will learn something from. But the bluff story is fictional. Don't be quoting our bluff to your friends at the next party, because you'll sound like a fool. And also,
It's true.
for those of you watching or listening live, you are not allowed to help our historians figure out who the bluff is just because you happen to be an expert on tonight's episode, which of course is jazz.
That's true. There's that beautiful banner jazz.
That's right. Okay, so also we've got a time limit here, Adam, and I might have written down the old time limit. What is the what is the current time limit for round 1?
The way History Bluff works these days in these modern times is round 1 is a 75-second round. Round 2 is going to be a faster 60 seconds. And round 3 is the lightning round that everyone fears at 45 seconds.
Yes. Well, I did write down the right numbers. I just doubted my own abilities. Thank you, Adam.
I'm here
for
to help.
reconfirming. All right. And at the end, we will determine who is the armchair historian and who is the history bluff.
Right.
And we won't be able to determine that until we start our first round, Adam.
That's right. Well, let's get right into it. We're going into round number 1.
And here we are in the first round. Once again, I'm going to give ladies first for the first round. You won't enjoy that privilege for the next 2 rounds, though, Katie. Sorry to break it to you.
Hey, Alan.
I would, yes.
Oh, I should have.
What did I forget? What did I forget, Adam?
No, you didn't forget anything. It's me. I need to put up the round tracker 9000. There it is, above your head. Well, the audio-only listeners are really missing out.
They are. So if you are watching us, you know that these are going to change as our historians progress throughout the rounds. And it's a nice little visual for those of you who are only listening. You're missing out. So go ahead and tune into YouTube or Twitch. Are we anywhere else, Adam?
No, not yet. We're going to be there
yet.
soon.
Someday.
Someday.
All right. Now, Katie's waiting with bated breath.
Oh, let's
Your
do it.
75 seconds starts now.
April 14th, 1912. The Titanic strikes an iceberg and sinks in the North Atlantic. On board are 2 star-crossed lovers. The woman is named Bertha Main. Now, Bertha Main, she grows up in Brussels. She's born in the late 1880s. She's a cabaret singer who, according to a newspaper in Brussels, was well known in circles of pleasure and often seen in the company of people who like to wine and dine and enjoy life. Basically, she was jazz before jazz was jazz. Well, she has a pretty scandalous time. She has a liaison with Ferdinand de Villiers, a prominent French soldier at the time. He joins the Foreign Legion, goes off to the Belgian Congo, but that really brings her to prominence, fame in local circles. Well, she's singing in a cafe in Paris when in walks Quig Baxter. Now, Quig Baxter is from Montreal. He's a Canadian hockey player and footballer, but he had an eye injury, so he had to retire. He's still very handsome, very, very rich, and very, very taken by her incredible beauty. I'll tell you more in the next segment.
Wow. This story's got it all. Foreigners, cabaret music, romance, tawdry affairs. Matt, what do you think?
I think I don't like the Titanic. I'm glad it's done. I'm tired of hearing about it through history. That's all people know about history. World War II and the Titanic. I reject them both as premises for things to learn. Beyond that, I like Katie and I appreciate her blouse. I like flowers,
Nice,
so it looks good.
nice flowery blouse.
You really pulled that up. That was a pull-up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Well,
Thank you, disembodied
compliment
Adam.
some. It's a what is it? A compliment sandwich. When you compliment someone
Yes.
right after you totally insult them. All right. So, Chris, what's your opinion here?
My opinion is that even though I am not an accountant, my ex-wife was an accountant, so I get some of my math skills through osmosis from her. And Katie started off by telling us about this lovely woman, Bertha, who she described as a young beauty. And I'm about to get metaphorically kicked in the shins by many, many listeners when I say this next sentence. But according to my math, if she was born in the 1880s and it's late
1880s.
And the Titanic sunk in the late 1920s?
1912, Chris. That was literally my
1912.
You listened to me.
Wow. So even that, she's 30. She's 30. Back then, that wasn't necessarily young.
She's almost dead.
24 on
She's
Titanic.
almost dead.
So,
Born in 87.
If you weren't married by 13, you were a spinster. That was it.
So, but then I love the names though. Quig Baxter, Ferdinand de Villiers, Bertha. So it's an interesting novel. I want to read it.
Right.
Those are valid jazz names if I've ever heard.
Sounds fun. You know what else would be fun is to hear Chris elaborate on his own story, and maybe he's going to get nitpicked a little bit after he finishes In the next 75 seconds, fire that cannon.
Here we go. So I start on May 19th, 1919 at Mechanics Hall in Boston, where one of the Wright brothers lunged forward with a penknife and stabbed Europe in the neck. But let's take a step back, right? Because that's where we're going to end up. We start in Mobile, Alabama, February 22nd, 1881. James Reese Europe was born, the second youngest child to Henry Jefferson Europe and Lorraine Saxon. By 1904, he had moved to New York and was on his way to becoming a successful musician and band leader. By 1910, he had formed a group called the Clef Club, the Society for Black Americans in the Music Industry. And in 1912, that club made history as the first band to play proto-jazz in Carnegie Hall 26 years before Benny Goodman's famous concert there that was widely regarded as kind of the acceptance of jazz into the mainstream. In 1914, World War I breaks out in Europe. James Europe obtained a commission as a lieutenant in the New York Army National Guard's 369th Infantry Regiment, known as the Harlem Hellfighters. And because of the situation in the U.S. where they wouldn't allow African Americans to fight in our army in battlefield, they were fighting under French leadership.
Okay. Katie, what do you think?
Well, Chris, I am good at math, and just you said that he was born in the 1880s and this happened in 1919. You also described him as the youngest child. Clearly, he's not young in this story. Yeah, second youngest. Clearly, he's not young in this story, so that's on you. I already don't believe it.
Wow. A lot of back and forth about age and subtraction of years. Matt, what do you think?
Oh, I wasn't listening.
Oh, okay.
I'm kidding. No, speaking of names, Europe? That's their last name?
His
I
last
don't
name.
buy it. I don't buy it. Who's going to come in next? Fred Germany? Phil Spain?
Stay tuned.
I knew a girl
Franklin,
named
Italy?
London once.
I get a million. Okay, well, Adam, whose side are you on here?
I'm on my side.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good side to be on. Fair enough.
Matt, you don't believe anybody,
I
but
don't.
let's see how well you're believed after you finish round one in your 75 seconds.
Here we go.
All right. Okay, it's February 3rd, 1985. Oh, so long ago in 1985. Jazz legend Ben Coleman died on stage while performing in New Orleans. It's like one of those horrible stories where, like, he died on stage in the middle of a show. Like one of those terrible things that happens sometimes. So he died during the show. So let me go backwards a little bit where he grew up. He was born on March 17th, 1943 in New Orleans. So he was surrounded by music when he was a kid. His dad died at 10, which kind of put him into a funk, as you may guess. So he picked up a clarinet, and that became like his instrument. So he played all around. But he had, I think because he had lost his dad so young, he became a little bit of not a great kid, a little bit naughty. And him and his friend tried to rob a liquor store, and he accidentally killed the clerk. Although at the time, we only know that now because at the time his best friend, for some reason, decided to take the rap for him. So he went to juvie for a little bit, and his friend Eddie went for like 3 years. I'm going to stop right there because I know the time. There's so much more to say, but I'm going to stop.
Chris, let's hear your opinion about this man who died on stage.
All right. If since the friend Eddie took the rap, if he says his name is Beaver, I am walking off the set. I'm just putting that. So dying on stage, I've experienced that. We had some interesting facts here, but February 3rd, 1985, very interesting. I have been to New Orleans many times, and I am not familiar with this story, so I would love to hear more. And I would like to give a point to Matt for his little pun, put him into a funk.
Oh,
I'm so good. I didn't even
good.
know I made one.
That is sharp.
Me
That's
high-fiving
sharp.
myself. Thank you,
There it
Chris.
is.
Katie, what do you say?
Well, he was born on St. Patrick's Day, and he eventually died on a stage. 10 out of 10. Absolutely believe it.
Okay.
Sounds like another point.
That's an endorsement. That's an
That
endorsement.
is.
I hear it. Well, let's check that round tracker. Oh, look!
Uh-oh.
All 3 dots are filled.
Uh-oh.
Adam, you know what that means.
That can only mean that we are ready to go into round number 2.
It is round 2,
Here we are.
where the round is shorter. A mere minute.
Mere
Each
minute.
historian will get.
Oh, makes me warm, fuzzy, nostalgic feelings for round number 1 when we all had more time to tell our stories.
No, those days are gone, Adam.
They're gone. They're history,
gone.
one would say.
Gone, but not forgotten.
Not
Just like history, exactly. Chris,
Oh.
let's bring you up for round 2. You're
All
getting a
right.
minute, and you're going to hear a cannon to start you off.
Ready. So, World War I brought many changes to the world, obviously, but jazz music, not the least among them. Some historians characterize it as America's greatest cultural gift to the rest of the globe. African-American regimental outfits, such as E.E. Thompson's 368th Regimental Band, George Duff's 370th Infantry, also known as the Old 8th Illinois Regiment, and most famously, James Reese Europe's 369th Regimental Band, the Harlem Hellfighters. They all came to define and spread this new musical form across continental Europe. An August 1918 performance at the Theatre des Champs-Élysées, however you say that, in Paris by the 369th, so impressed one of the French generals there that he asked them to play in the French capital for 8 more weeks, which they did. Another one of their concerts drew 50,000 listeners. So by this point, there was no going back. They were famous. Jazz was a thing. Here we go.
Very interesting how we're just bookending the 20th century. Chris and Katie at the beginning, and Matt at the end. Let's hear Katie's take. What do you say?
I mean, the 368th and 369th Regiment, they were just next to each other like that. Also, 369. Come on, that's not a real number. You made that up.
It is a real number. It's between 368 and 370.
369. Damn, she fine. Listen, I know where your brain is, Chris, and it's not in jazz. Okay, I don't agree.
Interesting. Matt, what's your theory?
I think it's interesting that Chris is talking about the birth of jazz while he's wearing that hat. I think, although I
Matt
think it
only
works.
notices wardrobe.
Yeah, I'm noticing everybody's great wardrobes. I'm reserving judgment because I still like Chris, but I don't know. I feel like he's got an answer for everything. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Yes.
Okay.
Matt's personal feelings might interfere with his judgment. Who knows?
How dare you?
I'm just saying. It's possible. Matt,
Yes,
speaking of
Alan.
how dare I, how
Oh,
dare
boy.
you not
Okay.
tell us anything in round number 2. So now you must after the cannon shot.
All right, 6 seconds. Okay, where was I? Oh, okay. So him and his. Okay, I need to tell this a lot slower because I'm getting too excited. So him and his friend, they try to steal the money. The guy gets shot. So they go to jail. Anyway, comes back. He's like, all right, I'm gonna get more serious about music. So he starts playing his clarinet. He starts a band called Ben Coleman and the Blowhards, and they're playing all around New Orleans. They're getting very famous. They're doing well. And during this time, actually, before that, 1964, he married his wife, and that's when the band really took off. So he started the band before that, married his wife, then the band took off. So getting popular around town, became famous. They were like the top act in New Orleans just for that little while. But during that time, he is known to be kind of a womanizer and definitely has a heroin addiction, which is also kind of well known throughout the music world. But he's great, and music producers are after them. People are noticing them. They're starting to talk about signing them to a label and giving them some kind of deal.
Okay, Chris, this story's got heroin. It's got womanizing. How much does this have to do with jazz?
Heroin. Yeah, drugs in the music industry. What? Come on, what? Really? And I love the name Ben Coleman and the Blowhards. I think you could have been a little more creative with the name that you made up. And the biggest flag for me was his pronunciation, New Orleans, when any self any self-respecting person who's visited there or lives there knows that the locals call it Nolans.
I don't live there, nor have I visited there, so
Okay,
I
you're
prefer to
lost.
keep our relationship professional.
Oh,
Katie, what do you
Okay.
think?
Yeah, the fact that he said New Orleans tells me that I can't trust him about this. But also, Matt, the order of this story is all over the place. We started in the 80s, and now he's getting married in the 60s.
He's Benjamin Button.
We're going back in time. I'm not, listen, I get pretty sure that Chris was the bluff until this moment. Now I can't trust your timeline.
oh, that's it. You're losing her.
Wow, interesting. Katie, now he did start off the story from when he died, so if he went forward from there, that would have been interesting.
But
Just saying.
I start in the 80s and go back. We jumped around to juvie, then it was him getting, it's a lot.
Okay. All right. Fair. Well, Katie, I don't think we've heard from you in round 2.
You haven't.
So we're going to hear more about this supposed love affair on the Titanic. Maybe they'll make a movie out of it.
Maybe.
Here we go.
There we go, Adam.
Okay, so Quick Baxter becomes enamored with Bertha Main. They become lovers because it's Brussels, and of course they do. Well, they're together a few months. Quick Baxter's mother and sister are ready to go back home to Montreal. Quick is not ready to leave Bertha. He's like, please, please, please come to Montreal with me. And she's like, hey, your mom's not going to be cool with that. And he's like, yeah, my mom's not going to be cool with it. So he brings her on Titanic under the name de Villiers, referencing that French soldier that she had that affair with because it gives her better standing, has her in a stateroom 1 deck down. So him, his sister, and mother are on B deck. She's on C deck. The Mrs. Baxter, his mother, knows her as, his friend, doesn't quite know the nature of their relationship or that she's a woman of ill repute that he intends to marry, which all falls apart during the sinking.
It all falls apart during the sinking. So does the ship. Hey now.
Oh, hey.
Oh.
Too
There it
soon,
is.
Alan.
There it is.
Too
Oh,
soon.
I'm sorry.
111 years. That's basically yesterday.
And 11 years. I know.
As
We're
the
all
history
still-
flies.
We're all still mourning it. We're all still mourning it.
Not me, I'm
but
glad it's
we got to
over.
hear some opinions.
Yes.
Some opinions on Katie's story. Matt, what do you think?
I think she also is great at making up names. I appreciate. I forgot what I was gonna say. I appreciate the way that Katie tells her story, and that she puts her hands on her chest to really emote. And I think that I think that's great, and you should keep doing that. But it doesn't mean I believe her.
Matt, I think you have us on mute. You're not listening. You're just watching our all you talk about are what we look like, what we're wearing.
Yeah, that's how people communicate non-verbally.
That's also why Matt is not referring to anyone's dialogue whatsoever. So
Oh, I'm
That
clearly
makes
not
sense.
listening. I think that's been clear most of the time.
He's doing a great job of painting the set for our audio listeners. It's fantastic. I gotta say.
Thank you, Adam.
You're welcome,
More
Matt.
commentary, Matt. Chris, what do you think?
So, excuse me, I'm choking up here because of this lovely story. But so Katie is trying to pass off that a love story sprouted in Brussels. I don't know that I.
Oh my God, he did it again.
What happened to you in
Adam,
Brussels?
where's your sound effects? Get on it.
Adam, a
I
love story sprouted in Brussels.
Oh, come on.
Brussels
Two
Sprout.
slip by you. Melon.
sprouting.
Oh,
But
I
the
can't
thing is-
believe.
I'm with you, Adam. I was taking that literally. It's like, what? Did Van Damme not have any love affairs in Brussels? What's going on?
The biggest thing for me
No,
was
he
Baxter. The name Baxter. She invoked the name Baxter. We all know Baxter from Anchorman. He was all about love, man. Come on, you're not gonna white. You're telling a little white lie that is slowly evolving into a big deceit. So I am very leery of this story.
Wow.
Okay, that's it.
You know what else is it, Adam? Round 2. 'Cause
What?
It's over. It's
You gotta
over.
be
Look at that
joking,
round
Matt.
checker.
Yeah, it
Look at
happened so fast.
It's filled up.
Round 2, I hardly knew ye. That can only mean we're gonna go into the final round of the show, round number 3.
There it is. Round
Here we
3.
go. It's the dreaded lightning round. Only 45 seconds for our historians to wrap up their tales.
45 mere seconds.
Mere.
Matt, can you handle this time constraint? Because you're up to wrap up your story.
I can't, but we're
No,
gonna
Europe was in Chris's story, not his.
That's right.
Thank you.
Hence
Matt,
the Brussels. There
Yes,
you go.
that
There's
was-
one for you.
Here comes your sundial and your cannon shot.
Here we go.
Okay, so let's see. So Ben is approached by, so they do get some interest from music producers. He gets approached by a guy named Phil Westerlund who says, I want to give you a deal, but I want to give you the deal, not the rest of the band or anything. And instead of what you would think he would do, he says, yeah, I'll take it, just me. So not only does he decide to leave the band, which you can imagine they're a little prickly about, he's also going to leave behind his wife as well. So he's just going to pretty much split, and he makes it known to everybody. So the night that he kind of decides this is going to happen, his best friend Eddie, who apparently has been in love with his wife all of these years, poisons him by putting poison on his reed, his clarinet reed, and that's what he dies during the show.
Whoa! That's crazy! What would have been crazier if someone had given him a different reed and he didn't actually use it. But it didn't happen that way, unfortunately. For
Game of
good old
Thrones.
Ben Coleman. Katie, what do you think?
Wow.
Poisoned his clarinet reed? Okay. So, as someone who spends a lot of time in like murder mystery dinner theater, there are a lot of different poisons. So, I'm trying to think arsenic, cyanide. What's going to kill you from just inhaling in the reed and not ingesting? And like, it just seems too far fetched. It poisoning his drink, maybe, but poisoning his clarinet reed, this is something you've made up, Matt.
Wow.
When I was 10 years old, I did play the saxophone, and your tongue does contact the reed. I know that much.
You
Hey,
have to
Chris-
slobber all
No,
over that
dirty.
thing, I think.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
gotta
yeah,
wet
yeah.
that reed.
There's some saliva going on in
And
that reed.
very uncomfortable.
Okay. Chris, what do you think?
Well, and just to briefly defend Matt, Katie, just to clarify, he was very clear. He poisoned him with poison. That's what he said.
Yeah,
He poisoned him with
specific, yeah.
poison. So you know, come on. He gets into the
I
into
didn't
the
say
weeds
venom.
on the
I
reeds,
didn't
you
say
know?
venom. I said poison.
Oh man, I'm with Katie on this one.
I never thought you'd ever say that.
I'm very skeptical. I just nope. I'm not buying the bad read.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
No pun
Katie
from
and
Chris though
Chris.
that time. No pun from Chris though.
I was even waiting for one, too.
No. They don't believe.
He didn't have to. He burned you. You could say he gave you a reading.
Oh, jeez. Oh, okay.
Hey now.
Double.
Speaking
Let me
of hey
describe to the
now,
listeners,
Katie.
her body language made as if it was a great joke and she enjoyed it.
She sold
Matt
it.
She did a
hasn't
little.
listened to a word that I've said this whole show.
I'm sorry. What's your name again?
It's
You should
on
keep
this.
that. It's written right there.
Right.
Oh my
Kati. Got it.
Yeah.
Speaking of Katie, it's your
Ah.
turn
Oh,
Okay.
to wrap this up. We're gonna go down with the ship, Katie. It's time to.
wait a second.
Too soon, Alan. Jesus.
Too soon. Nothing on this side of the Holocene. Okay.
Okay.
Here comes the here comes the boom.
Okay, so the night of the 14th, Quig is in his stateroom with his mother. The ship has stopped. The mother wants to know what's going on, so he steps out into the hallway where Captain Smith says, "There's been an accident, Baxter, but it is all right." Well, he's talking to Japers Ismay, the managing director of the White Star Line, who's like, "Nah, get your sister, get your mother, and get that lady friend into a boat." So he does. He brings them to a boat. He hands his mother a flask, and she lectures him about his drinking. And he's like, "Okay, goodbye, good luck." And He perishes. The mother, the sister, the girlfriend survive, which led to what I assume is the most awkward conversation ever in a lifeboat. They take her in. She goes back to Paris. No one even believes she was on Titanic.
Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Katie, the first Titanic made so much money. This could also make more money. They could have made a sequel if this were true. Chris, what do you think?
Nah,
Right,
That's
there
your
you go.
rebuttal.
that's my rebuttal. Very convenient wrap up there at the end. I'm not buying it.
Okay, he's not buying it.
Yep.
He's a skeptic. All right, Matt, speaking of not buying it, are you also not buying it?
I mean, not completely. Mostly because I listened a little better this time, but not much better. But I'll be honest, I think I could think of more awkward conversations to have in a lifeboat. If you gave me some time, we can make it.
That's fair. That's when you bring up a fair.
Yeah.
Hey, remember
Yeah, we'll
that
leave it at
person
that.
that was still on the boat? That's awkward.
Ooh.
But I have
The
to agree
ship, Alan, ship, lifeboat.
Ship.
Titanic was a ship.
Excuse me.
I will say I agree with Chris though that I think it did wrap up pretty nice. Katie's done really great at sort of wrapping up right before the
Okay.
time limit,
All right.
which
You
seems
sound
is
just
a little
like
bit specific.
you sound just like her
Suspicious.
nephew who
It is
didn't believe
specific.
she was on Titanic until after she died when he found a shoebox full of her stuff.
Oh.
Okay.
So-
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Fair.
All right. Yeah.
All right.
So
Well, speaking of awkward conversations,
Uh-oh.
hey, Chris,
Yes.
it's time for you. And you know what? It's appropriate that your story involves Mr. Europe because this will be your final countdown.
All right.
On that
Good
note,
reference.
here we
Good
go.
reference.
Okay. Boston. We're back to Boston, May 1919. After the glory of the war, and they got famous with their jazz playing. On the night of May 9th, 1919, Europe had been feeling ill all day, but he wanted to go on with the first of 3 concerts that his band was doing in Boston's Mechanics Hall. So during intermission of this first show, he pulled 2 of his drummers aside, Stephen and Herbert Wright, aside to criticize them for walking off the stage while others were performing. Herbert Wright just goes ballistic because he feels like James Europe's been treating him badly the whole time. He became enraged. He threw his drumsticks down. He pulled out a knife. And he stabbed Europe in the neck. Europe thought his wound was just superficial. He told his band to finish the show without him. I'll see you in the morning. I'll be all right. That's what he said when they reeled him out. He bled out at the hospital. They couldn't stop the bleeding.
Oh my goodness!
Is
Wow.
it awkward that there's applause there? But okay.
Is it?
I mean,
Applause for someone
It's-
bleeding to death.
it's applause for his story narrative.
Oh my goodness. Matt, this story involved Europe. It involved Boston. Is this jazz or classic rock?
I can't. Neither, I hope.
Okay.
I still can't get over the fact that somebody's named Europe. It just my brain does. All I can think is geography. I was with him until I was like 2 drummers. Why are there 2 drummers? And then, but only one of them gets. But only one of them gets so angry. I don't know. He sort of lost me there at the end.
Okay.
Okay.
But I still like Chris. Let's be clear about that.
That's
Still
good.
like Chris. Okay. Katie, what do you think?
I do think it's kind of funny that all 3 of our stories involve death. It feels very jazz to me personally.
Really does.
It's just Chris called out people for making up names earlier. Meanwhile, he's got people named Europe in Europe. I don't believe either of you, and I have to figure out which one of you men is lying to me.
Can't be both of them. Not in this show.
She makes a valid point, Adam, because you and you alone know who is telling the truth and who is the bluff.
Indeed, I do.
So,
Indeed, I do.
first of all, we need the official guesses here. Matt, I want to know what your opinion is. Who do you think is bluffing?
I would have said Katie until the end. I think because I think I've been double bluffed. I'm gonna say Chris. I'm gonna say Chris.
That's a vote for Chris. Katie, who do you think?
No, I want to go last. Ask Chris.
All right, Chris. Chris, ladies are definitely not first for this round.
You can do that.
What is your your opinion?
I've been doing the show since the beginning. I didn't know you could pass either. I'm going to say
She's brilliant.
New
She is
rules
brilliant.
introduced.
Masterful Katie.
I think it was very convenient that she had these fantastic novel-worthy names in her story. I still don't necessarily think that Matt's story holds a lot of water. The guy was poisoned and he died on stage. Although, having said that, my guy died in the middle of a show as well. So therefore, I'm going to go with Katie because she didn't die on the Titanic. Her main character, Bertha Maine, her main character. So yes, I am. I'm going to say I think Katie is the bluff.
Oh, wow. Katie, Chris just said that Matt's story doesn't hold a lot of water. You know, it does hold a lot of water.
Uh-oh.
What, Alan?
Are you be saying that about everything that happens to the of our?
Oh no!
The luxury liner known as the Titanic.
There it is.
You know what is a Titanic?
How dare you? How dare you? Listen,
It's not a boat.
I feel very lied to by both of these men tonight. I believed Matt a lot more until the poison reed. I just feel like that's really convenient, and that it wouldn't be enough to kill you on stage, maybe later. But also, I feel like everything that Chris said is a lie. So, in an ultimate conflict, the music's done. Matt, it's Matt.
If you had more to say, you can say it.
The
but
vote
here
is
we
Matt.
are. The vote is Matt.
All
our
right,
votes are in,
so,
Alan.
Let's see. Chris voted for
Katie.
Katie.
We all voted for someone
Katie
else.
voted
They
for
didn't-
Matt. It's a
Yep.
3-way tie.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So that means
Wow.
one of you has voted correctly and voted for the bluff. But I have no clue. Only our tech Adam knows.
That's right. I do. I have all of the information, and I will dispense the information now. Was your bluff tonight? Could it have been Katie? Could it have been Chris? Or could it have been Matt? I shall reveal the bluff. This evening was Matt.
Oh!
Well played, sir. Oh, look at you coming on. Okay, we'll decide the
There
bluff
I am.
card. No,
There I
you're
am.
all back
Sorry.
now.
Going off.
There it is.
All right. Katie, did you get him right?
I got it right.
Yes.
Katie
Well
won.
done, Katie.
Katie.
The strategy of
Katie.
waiting until everyone gives you all the evidence.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, good
In your
job. So
favor.
Katie's the winner. Katie's the winner.
That's how the third lawyer does it in every court case.
The third lawyer.
Wait,
I want to
who's-
gather all my information. Okay.
No, it's a good strategy. People
Yeah.
are going to steal that from now on. You
They
realize
are.
that, right?
No, I want to go last.
it's
Okay.
dibs. I think it's dibs. You have to
Dibs.
call
All up
dibs
to
on
the
that.
host to let you do it. Okay.
And well
But
played.
anyway, that was a nice, fun show, guys. Adam,
Oh.
I think we're going to wrap it up from there.
Okay, let's wrap it up. Alan, hey, thanks for being the chairman of the show. We appreciate that. Thank you to Matt and Katie and Chris, all of our fantastic historians. And I have been Adam, your announcer. This is History Bluffs. You can find us where podcasts are gotten or on YouTube and Twitch. We're here every week. Come back and join us. Learn something.